Hello, Eckhart. My question is about tinnitus, or ringing in the ears. I've had it for about 2 years, and it actually happened not too long after I developed the portal entering into silence from stillness.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, into stillness from silence.
Yeah.
And my question is how to stay present while surrounded by constant chaotic noise.
It's a ringing in the ears.
Yes, a loud ringing in the ears.
Yeah. It started 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because that happened to me too 2 years ago. It started on one ear.
Okay.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. But you're too young. I'm suffering from the process of old age.
Well, mine is from some muscle-related issues. So.
Yeah. So I noticed 2 years ago on one ear, when it's totally still, I don't notice it when there's noise around, but when I go into either out in nature, where there's absolutely no human noise or any noise, or in a very still room, suddenly I'm very aware of the ringing sound in my right ear. So the same as you, I can no longer really listen to the stillness. It's just not there. But that's a good thing. Well, at first I must admit, it's a pity. I love listening to the silence. I always loved it, listening to the silence. But the real stillness actually goes beyond the listening faculty. The real stillness is a very deep, it's a cessation of thinking and just a deep inner silence, which is deeper than that silence. So that's all. Then that's what's left to you is you have to go deeper into that. Yes, to be deprived of that is a pity. I would rather be able to listen to the stillness than not listen to the stillness. But if it's not there, that's fine. Just realize that the real stillness is not a listening phenomenon. We are only using the outer silence as a way of connecting with the inner silence, which I call stillness. So, although the outer silence is beautiful, in itself, this is not ultimately it. And if you can't have it, yes, it would be lovely to have it, to appreciate it, but that wasn't the end anyway. It was only always the doorway into stillness, because I often, as a little meditation that I give people in group setting, if you can even call it meditation, I listen to the silence that's here in this room. And that's another interesting fact here is in many places where I give talks, they may be a big auditorium or a theater, and there are very few, almost no places anymore these days where you can actually listen to the stillness, because the moment you start listening, you realize there's some kind of humming or something going on, which is the air conditioning system or whatever, some other kind of machinery. So I'm doing it less and less. I haven't been doing that meditation, suggesting it to groups that much recently, because I notice they can't listen to the silence because there isn't the silence. So you've got the ringing in the ears filling the room. But the reason, yes, it is beautiful to listen to stillness, you can appreciate it, but the purpose really, why I say listen to the silence, is because the moment you listen to the silence, your mind becomes silent. So, because listening to the silence means giving attention, or sometimes I call it just noticing that there is a silence here. So you notice the silence, which means you give attention to the silence. which in other words, one could almost say it means you're not giving attention to anything anymore, because giving attention to silence, does that even make sense? Because silence is really there's just an empty space, so to speak, no sound, just an empty space. You give attention to that empty space, and the moment you do that, your mind becomes an empty space. Your mind becomes simply, all that's left is the alertness that's there, but without any object in it. And that's a very quick way of getting there, is listening to the silence. And so if you observe what happens inside you when you listen to the silence, you'll notice that your mind stops. You're not thinking, but you're fully conscious. So that's why listening to the silence is the entry point into the state of not thinking, which is inner stillness. So if that entry point doesn't work for you anymore, it's a pity, but not a tragedy. So your mind can still become still. So it's a beautiful thing that you can't have anymore. It's not a thing, but let's call it a thing. You can't have that anymore. Yes, it's a pity I can't have that anymore, but that's how it is. And it does not mean that that inner state that it takes you to cannot be there. So that's the answer, but it's quite possible that you may regain your clear auditory perceptions. You're still young. Whether I regain it or not, somebody says yes, well, you're the expert, but who knows? If it comes back, I'll be very happy, and if it doesn't, I won't be unhappy.
Would you say that I need to develop a different portal then, or use a different way to enter?
Yes, the feeling the inner body, to feel the aliveness pervading your entire body, is also a way of becoming still. Or to focus on other sense perceptions, like visual, to contemplate the spaciousness of the sky, is the equivalent in visual terms of listening to silence. So whenever it's there, you contemplate that vast spaciousness, and when you really give it attention, and again it's similar to giving attention to silence, you're not giving attention to anything in particular, so it spreads all out into, really all that's left is the attention itself, diffused attention, not focused attention. Focused attention is you're looking at one thing. You're listening to one noise, focused attention. You're looking at one cloud, focused attention. But you're listening at the entirety of the sky, or the all-pervasive silence around you, is diffused attention. And that's a wonderful practice, and then it becomes more than a practice. It's undifferentiated awareness. It's and they have it in Zen too. It's a practice with a name. So it's choiceless awareness. It's choiceless because choice is you focus. But if you just have an empty sky, you can't focus on anything. It's just so what awareness opens up from focus to choiceless awareness. Sometimes meditation methods teach you to have focused awareness so that the mind doesn't go wild. And after a long time of focusing on one meditation object, whether it's a mantra or a mental image or a physical image, then the switch goes to diffused awareness, no longer focused, choiceless awareness. So, but whenever you look at the sky, you can have it immediately, unless your mind is so active that you can't look at the sky without the intrusion of a huge amount of thoughts. So the equivalent then for you, instead of listening to silence, look at the sky. The clouds represent your thoughts. The vast expansiveness, the expansion, the spaciousness is your awareness. the consciousness, the background. So, good luck.
Oh, thank you. Can I ask one more thing?
Yes.
Would it be best then not to pay attention to the sound?
Not to pay attention to that sound?
Ringing, yes.
Well, if it's the same as me, you only become aware of it when it gets very still, there's little noise.
Yes.
And then there's no need to focus on it, you just know it's there, and you focus on whatever you need to focus on. Or if you can look at this, let's say it's totally silent and you're looking at the sky, so you focus on that, then you may not even be aware of that ringing anymore.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yes?
I had the same thing.
Yes.
I had brain surgery a year ago
Yes?
after a fall, and it was successful. I had a subdural hematoma, and after the surgery, it was all successful except I had that ringing, and they said that would go away. It didn't go away, but so the neurologist sent me to get these new technology hearing aids, and it stopped it immediately.
Oh. Oh, so it stopped when you have put the hearing aid in,
Yes.
but when you take it out, it's back.
No, it stopped it completely.
Oh, I'll have to try that. Yeah.
Here, I'll lend it to you.
Well, maybe you can write down for me what it's called.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, and for you.
And you can get them at Costco for. They tried to sell me, $10,000 for these, but I found out Costco has them for $2,000.
Sometimes the solution to problems is not to be found in the spiritual realm, but at Costco.